What if the thing destroying your life right now isn't your circumstances, isn't your job, your relationships, or your past, but something happening silently inside you that you haven't even noticed yet? Most people spend their entire lives fixing the outside. Better income, better relationships, better opportunities. But the Bhagavad Gita tells us something deeply uncomfortable. The destruction was never coming from outside. It was always coming from within. Krishna didn't just teach Arjuna how to win a battle. He showed him exactly what was already defeating him from the inside. And the 5 things he identified are the same 5 things quietly dismantling your life right now. In chapter 16, verse 21, Krishna identifies what he calls the 3 gates of hell: desire, anger, and greed. He calls them, and this is the exact word he uses, the destroyer of the self. Not the destroyer of your career, not your reputation, yourself, the deepest part of who you are. And today we're going beyond those 3, into 5 specific patterns the Gita says are silently eating away at your peace, your purpose, and your potential right now. Number 1, you are living for people who aren't even watching. Every decision filtered through what others will think. Every achievement measured by how many people noticed. Every failure felt twice. Once when it happened, and once imagining everyone's reaction. This is what the Gita calls performing action for results, but specifically for the approval of others. In chapter 3, verse 19, Krishna says, "Therefore, without attachment, perform always the work that is to be done, for man attains the highest by doing work without attachment." The moment your actions become about impressing people, you have handed your peace to strangers. And strangers are careless with things that don't belong to them. You will never find stillness while living in someone else's eyes. Number 2, you are being destroyed by a moment that no longer exists. That failure from 2 years ago, that conversation that went wrong, that opportunity you missed, that version of yourself you're ashamed of. You carry it everywhere, into every new relationship, every new opportunity, every morning. The Gita is ruthlessly clear about this. In chapter 2, verse 14, Krishna says, "The contacts between the senses and sense objects give rise to fleeting experiences of happiness and distress. These are non-permanent, appear and disappear, and one must learn to tolerate them. Nopelmano, appear and disappear. That painful moment you keep reliving, it already disappeared. You are the one keeping it alive." Krishna told Arjuna this on a battlefield surrounded by real loss. If he could be called to release the past in that moment, so can you. Number 3, you are measuring your life against someone else's highlight reel and losing every time. Someone your age is more successful. Someone in your circle seems happier. Someone with less talent has more opportunities. And every time you notice, something quiet inside you shrinks. This is one of the most subtle destroyers the Gita warns about. In chapter 3, verse 35, Krishna gives Arjuna one of the most powerful verses in the entire Gita. It is far better to perform one's own duties imperfectly than to master the duties of another. By fulfilling the obligations one is born with, a person never comes to grief. Your dharma, your specific path, cannot be lived by anyone else, and their path cannot be lived by you. The moment you start measuring your chapter 3 against someone else's chapter 20, you abandon the very journey Krishna designed specifically for you. Number 4, you are quietly being consumed by anger you think is justified. And maybe it is justified. Maybe someone genuinely wronged you. Maybe the situation was truly unfair. The Gita doesn't deny that. But in chapter 2, verse 63, Krishna traces exactly what anger does to a person, step by step. From anger comes delusion. From delusion, loss of memory. From loss of memory, destruction of the intellect. And from destruction of the intellect, one perishes. Read that again slowly. Anger leads to delusion. Delusion destroys memory. Destroyed memory kills your ability to think clearly. And then, you perish. That is not poetry. That is a psychological process Krishna described thousands of years before modern science confirmed it. The person who wronged you has already moved on. Your held anger is not punishing them. is perishing you. And number 5, this is the deepest one, the one Krishna spent the most time on. You have forgotten who you actually are. Not your job title, not your family role, not your failures or your achievements or your reputation. Who you actually are underneath all of that. In chapter 2, verse 20, Krishna says it's something that should stop you completely. The soul is never born nor dies at any time. It has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. It is unborn, eternal, ever-existing, and primeval. You are not the anxiety. You are not the failure. You are not what happened to you or what people said about you. You are an eternal soul that Krishna himself calls unborn, ever-existing, and primeval. The suffering comes when you forget this. Every single sign of inner destruction, the people-pleasing, the past, the comparison, the anger, all of it roots in one thing. Identity confusion, not knowing who you are. When Arjuna forgot who he was, he collapsed on the battlefield. When Krishna reminded him, he rose. The Gita exists to remind you of the same thing. Here's what ties all 5 of these together. Not one of them is something happening to you from outside. Every single one is happening inside, in the way you think, remember, compare, react, and see yourself. And that means every single one of them is something you have the power to change. Chapter 6, verse 5. One of the most direct verses Krishna speaks. Elevate yourself through the power of your own mind, and do not degrade yourself. For the mind can be the friend of the self, and the mind can also be the enemy of the self. Your mind is either working for you or against you right now. The Gita just showed you exactly how it destroys, so you can choose differently starting today. If this hits something real inside you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want the Gita's wisdom decoded for your real life every week, subscribe to Gita Unlocked. The battlefield is inside you, and Krishna is already on your side.